Today we'll be working in my workbook called The Promised Line from Isaac through Jacob, and it covers Genesis chapters 25, verse 19 through chapters 31, verse 55. And since we're starting the book, I'll show you a quick some of the preliminary picture pages before the book. We have the journey of Isaac and Jacob's journey to Haran and back. This covers the life of Isaac from age 60 to 157 years of life. His life in this book is spent in the square on the map to the left. This book also covers the life of Jacob from birth to about 97 years of age, the last 20 years being spent in Padan Aram. This book covers about 97 years. Okay. And then on this one, how old is everyone in the book? The Bible does give us some ages and time frames, so we have to use those to extrapolate the age of Jacob when it goes to Padan Aram and the ages of the 12 sons. The ages of Rachel and Leah are harder to figure since there are no birth or death dates given, nor age in relationship to others given. So the 12 children born in 7 years, and these are based on Jewish history, are listed there. And that's how we can get the 12 sons and actually a daughter born in 7 years. And I have some of the scriptures from the Bible that helps us verify those things. So our first chapter in the book is the sons of Isaac and Rebekah, which is here. The sons of Isaac and Rebekah, Genesis 25, 19 through 34. Genesis 25, 19. This is the account of the family line of Abraham's son, Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean. Who are the parents of Isaac? Abraham and Isaac. Abraham and Sarah. Sorry, boy, get my mind on this here. Abraham and Sarah. Who's the father of Rebekah? Bethuel. We actually don't know the mother of Rebekah. We just know the father. What brother of Abraham is Rebekah from? Nahor. This would make Isaac and Rebekah second cousins. And you see from the family tree there how they're all related. You see Isaac and you see Rebekah. So, does Rebekah have a brother? What's his name? Yes, she does, and it's in Laban, and he will figure prominently in the latter part of this book. What town or area is Rebekah and her brother from? Padan Aram is the area, and it's actually from Haran, the town of Haran. How old was Isaac when he married Rebekah? 40 years of age. And it's likely that Rebekah is around the age of 20 when she marries, but the only reference we have of that is she's of the age of consent, and she can speak her mind and these things. She has some independence when we see her in her family. So that's why we think of her as older than age 15. All righty. Scriptures continue. Genesis 25, 21. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. Isaac and Rebekah were married 20 years before she had any children, and we know that from Genesis 25, 26. Based on the scriptures, what's wrong with Rebekah? Based on these scriptures, Rebekah was childless or barren. But according to the verse in Genesis below, isn't Isaac supposed to have children? Genesis 17:19. Then God said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. Yes, based on the verse in Genesis, Isaac is supposed to have children. Yet how long did Rebekah and Isaac wait before she gave birth? 20 years. What did Isaac do in Genesis 25:21? Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife. Now, I'm not sure why it would take him 20 years to do that, but it's been disidentified at this point in time. Why did God wait so long before he allowed Rebekah to conceive? A, do you think it was possibly to have Isaac lean on God in this manner? That's possible, where he starts reaching out to God and leaning on God more. That could be. Do you think it was possibly because to everything there is a season, there may have been a special time for these babies to be born? That's absolutely true. We see things in the here and now, but God knows exactly when certain people should be born, based on whether what they're going to be doing in the future. So there's always a season and a time for everything to be born. Or do you think it was just that God was cruel? No, I do not think it was just that God was cruel. There was a timing for these babies to be born. What made Rebecca concerned with the life in her womb? Realized she wouldn't know that she was having twins at this time, that there was movement and commotion going on in her womb. So the scriptures continue. Genesis 25:23. The Lord said to her, two nations are in your womb, and two peoples within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. It is now that Rebecca learns she will be having fraternal, not identical, twins. How many babies are in Rebecca's womb? Two. God gives quite a comparison between these two babies. How many nations? Two. Each will be distinct in a different nation or people group. Will these two nations join together or be uniquely separate from each other? They'll be separate from each other. Which child will serve which child? The older will serve the younger. Which then will you conclude continues the promised line? The younger one, because the older will serve the younger. Note the scripture from Psalm below. What do you think about the fact that God knows what we will do with our lives before we're even born? Does that give you peace or disturb you? Psalm 139:16. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Basically, I'm glad that he knows my life, and what they're doing ordained to be. I know that there's still free will, so I don't know how all that works, but of course he knows the future and we don't. Generally, it gives me peace. Uh, Probably a little fearful if I was to see what actually he has planned for me. But yeah. Genesis 25:24. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. Interestingly, twins are more likely from an older mom, which Rebecca, who is probably 35 to 40 years of age, and fraternal twins are from two eggs being fertilized at the same time. It's like Isaac prayed and God really blessed Rebecca's womb to conceive. What is the gender of the babies in Rebecca's womb? Boys. What was the name of the first baby? Esau. This literally means hairy. What was the description of the first baby? Um, Red and hairy. How old is Rebecca likely to be at this time? Probably 35 to 40 years of age. We can be pretty sure the woman helping Rebecca with the birth. Based on the scriptures below, who is she and what is her job? Genesis 24:59. So they sent their sister Rebecca on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. Genesis 35:8. Now Deborah, Rebecca's nurse, died and was buried under the oak outside Bethel. So yes, we're pretty sure that it's her servant, her nurse, and that it's Deborah, the nurse. Genesis 25:26. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. We know that the second baby came soon after the first, not just because he was a twin, but because of what? Because the fact that he was holding on to Esau's heel. What is the second baby boy named? Jacob. Jacob means supplanter or heel catcher, the person who seizes, circumvents, or usurps, a trickster, a con man, or a rascal. This is symbolized by Jacob grasping the heel of Esau as if saying, "Come back here, I'm first." We know that the name Jacob meant someone who usurps even during their lifetime, as Esau makes a comment about it in Genesis 24:36. Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he's taken advantage of me." How old was Isaac when the boys were born? He was 60 years of age. Even though we dealt with the death of Abraham in Genesis 25:7, we are backtracking a bit with the story at the birth of Jacob and Esau, as Isaac is 60 years of age. Therefore, Abraham was still alive, being then only 160 years of age. Therefore, Abraham would have known the boys through the age of 15, as Abraham died at the age of 175. Number 4, uh, Jacob will be the line of promise. So why does God have Esau born? It is not due to a human mistake, as in the case of Sarah, Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael. Does having siblings make a person more understanding, more able to deal with diversity? Exactly. Obviously, Jacob's the promised line, but even throughout all the family lines, other people were born as well. So they don't just stop with the promised line. Obviously, when you have brothers and sisters, you learn about dealing with others as well. So he just doesn't create the promised line, he creates the people around his promised line. Genesis 12, 25:27. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So we already have favoritism going on here. That shouldn't happen, but the two boys were so different. Esau probably really enjoyed Jacob probably really enjoyed the fact that Esau was strong. He was a hunter. He probably was everything that Isaac would have liked to have been. Um, and yet Jacob is the more of the man about the tents, learning the things of the tents, maybe more of a mother's boy, quiet, maybe not as like Esau at all, actually. Probably more intelligent, but interested in things around the campfire and the things like that. How is Esau described? He became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country. How is Jacob described? He is content to stay at home among the tents. The translators of the Bible have actually dealt Jacob a disservice translating the word Hebrew Ham into current content. So we get the impression that Jacob was timid, meek, and mild, but the same word was used to describe Job by God as a blameless and upright man. The word should be translated as perfect, complete, sound, and wholesome, which gives us a totally different impression of Jacob. Okay. Who loved Esau more? That would be Isaac. Why did Isaac love Esau more? Because he loved the taste of wild game, and Esau brought that all the time. Who loved Jacob more? That would be Rebekah. Should a parent love one child more than another? Why could this be a problem? No, they shouldn't love one child more than the other. And the problem exists because they become jealous of one another. They each are unique. They should be loved as they are. Does Isaac know Jacob continues the line of promise and not Esau? Apparently he does. Let's look at 25:23. 25:23. Yes. Remember, this is the one where the older will serve the younger, and Jacob is the younger one. So yes, indeed, he should know that the younger one is the promised land. So why should he favor Esau over Jacob? Because he's the hunter. He's the one a wild game killer. He's brought, again, looking at the strength of a person versus um, what God is using them as. Scriptures continue. Genesis 25:29. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country and he was famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. Now we move forward about 15 to 20 years when they're adults. What was Jacob cooking when Esau came in from the open country? He was cooking stew. Apparently, they both could cook, apparently. Was Esau hungry from his travels? Definitely. What did Esau ask from Jacob? Let me have some of that red stew. And what color is the stew? Red. Apparently, there's a little play on words here, as Esau is also called Edom because Edom means red, and apparently Esau had red hair all over. Esau is not nicknamed after the stew, nor nicknamed because of what happened due to the red stew. Esau will become the father or ancestors of all the Edomites. Due to the color of the stew, many interpreters believe it was red lentil stew. Do we know that Esau can cook? Yes, we've already heard that he can cook wild game. Can vegetables and fruit be eaten without cooking and therefore have time to prepare? No. Vegetables and fruit can be eaten without cooking. So there were still things he could eat. He didn't have to have the stew. That's what I'm trying to say. So would Esau really have time to find something to eat until he had a chance to cook something? Yes, he could find some raw vegetables or raw fruit. Um, so why do you think Esau was desperate to have some of Jacob's stew? Because he was hungry and he wasn't thinking clearly, and the stew was already made. The scriptures continue. Genesis 25:31. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I'm about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. The oldest son had two advantages. The first was the birthright, which was a double portion of the inheritance from the father. Basically, if there are two sons, then the birthright would be divided into three portions, and the older would receive the double portion, while the younger would receive one portion or one third of the estate. The second advantage is the first blessing from the father, which will be talked about later in this book. What did Jacob want for the red stew? He wanted his birthright. What is the birthright that Jacob is asking about? The portion of inheritance that he's asking about. Why was the birthright not important to Esau at that time? He was more hungry than worrying about his birthright. What did Jacob do to make sure Esau would not change his mind about the transaction after he got the stew? He told him to swear to him first about it. What did Jacob give for the birthright? Stew and some bread. Lentil stew and some bread. Why do you think it says that Esau despised his birthright? Because he didn't consider it very important to just trade it off for the lentil stew. That's at least what I believe. So now we come to the crossword of this chapter. So let me make sure I have the answers here in case I got crazy with the questions. All right. Number 1, Jacob came out grasping his brother's heel. Number 5, with the stew, Jacob also gave Esau some bread. Number 7, Esau grew up and became a skillful hunter. Number 8, Jacob receives Esau's birthright for the stew. 9, the other name for Esau was Edom. Who is Rebekah's father? Bethuel. Number 13, Jacob was cooking some red lentil stew. Number 14, both Isaac and Rebekah prayed about their future offspring. And 15, how old was Isaac when he was married to Rebekah? That was 40. One down. The first baby to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. Number two, the older will serve the younger. Number three, Esau and Jacob were not identical, but fraternal twins. Number four, the second baby was named Jacob. Number six, Jacob was content to stay home among the tents. 11, how many years did Rebekah and Isaac wait before having children? 20 years. 20 years. 20 years, yeah. And the first baby was named Esau. And 13, Isaac was how old when the babies were born? 60. 60. So that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great and wonderful day.